Meeting his demise in the Tiandang Mountains, the heavenly martial king Gu Feiyang is reincarnated 15 years later as Li Yun Xiao, a complete trash of his generation, and thus begins an extraordinary tale of the martial king looking to restore his former glory, all the while fighting off against the challenges that his new vessel brings. Surrounded by ruins, a man hears someone call out to him, Li Yun Xiao. "Who's calling me?" Wonders the man, questioning whether he, Gu Feiyang, didn't die already. As his mind begins to get flooded with someone else's memories, the voice once again shouts out, "Li Yun Xiao." With this, the man snaps awake as a boy and catches the piece of chalk flying towards him. From the memories he now possesses, Yun Xiao comes to understand that this is the year 1033 of the Sky Martial calendar, meaning that 15 years have passed since he, Gu Feiyang, died on the Tiandang Mountain. He then looks outside through a window, only to see a towering statue of himself from 15 years ago. Suddenly, the teacher starts scolding Yun Xiao for sleeping in her class. Having taken in the setting, Gu Feiyang realizes that he has been reborn as a boy named Li Yun Xiao. While the entire class looks on, Li Yun Xiao, Tian Shui Nation's Blue Jewel Academy instructor, asks Yun Xiao to answer how many methods there are to refine an ordinary Xuan weapon. Turning his gaze towards the teacher, the reincarnated soul notes that she is a great-looking girl with long crimson hair and a good body. So, if Yun Xiao wore a set of armor and added the Frost of Grief to her arsenal, she would be exactly like the Red Lotus Empress. Nah, Du really playing dress-up in his thoughts. Pitying that the instructor still has a long way to go as she's currently only in the 4th martial realm, Yun Xiao gives her a disappointed look. Shocked at her mind getting disrupted by just a glance from a regular brat, Yun Xiao rushes him to answer her question. As a 9th-tier refiner in his past life who stood at the pinnacle of the martial world, Yun Xiao feels insulted by the childish query. He nonchalantly answers that there are 48 types of refining methods, leaving Yun Xiao in shock. Hearing this, the entire class erupts in laughter. Ridiculing the trash of the Li family for not being able to answer such a simple thing, the other students show him that there's clearly only 36 types mentioned in Master Yang Di's notebook. Yang Di, that brat, he dared to forget the 12 methods that Gu Feiyang had devised, remarks Yun Xiao, unbothered by the mockery. While the rest of the class laugh at the boy, the instructor is baffled by his words. "Silence," shouts out Yun Xiao. Co-signing what Yun Xiao said, she tells the students that Yang Di didn't add the extra 12 methods in the notebook because they are simply impossible for ordinary people to grasp. Dude straight up said skill issue. Noting that Li Yun Xiao is considered trash in martial arts because his meridians haven't opened, Yun Xiao thinks that he will be valued much higher than a martial warrior if he is trained to be a refiner. Telling Yun Xiao not to be proud of himself just because he read some extracurricular materials, Yun Xiao asks him a nigh impossible question, announcing that he won't need to attend her class anymore if he can answer it. Much to everyone's surprise, Yun Xiao easily responds to her query. Following this, Yun Xiao asks him a series of questions that, in reality, is advice for herself. Yun Xiao's responses not only make her understand why she was failing in her task, but also that his gaze earlier was filled with disdain because of being asked a dumb question. She then rushes out of class, telling the boy to see her when classes are over and to study on his own for now. After Yun Xiao leaves, the students wonder if he is a prodigy in alchemy. Though, a sinister-looking boy shuts down their theory by reiterating that the Li family's trash can't possibly become a refiner. Afterwards, Yun Xiao takes a stroll around town, which is the capital of the Tian Shui Nation. The former 9th-tier refiner vows at the coincidence that his idiotic disciple Yang Di is now among the best refiners in this country, all the while feeling a bit moved that he made a statue to honor him. Soon, Yun Xiao arrives at the Alchemy Tower, lamenting that his current body is extremely weak since its previous owner was trash among trash, really catching strays even when he isn't even there. In his previous life, Yun Xiao was a grandmaster who was ranked 3rd in the martial world. So he quickly wants to find Yang Di and then train his trash of a body, aiming to regain all his prior strength in the next few years. Vowing to use his past life's experiences to become even stronger in this one, Yun Xiao proclaims, "I will reach the pinnacle of this world." As all the meridians in his current body are closed, Yun Xiao rushes to find Yang Di to open them. Arriving at the Alchemist Guild, he is welcomed by the receptionist named Lu Yao. Yun Xiao asks her if Yang Di is still there, only to find out that he was the previous guild master 20 years ago. Having originally wanted Yang Di to brew him some pills to help with breaking through, Yu Xiao feels that the task of unclogging his hidden meridians himself is a bit troublesome. Previously, the whole world knew him as Gu Feiyang, a prodigy in martial arts and alchemy, as well as one of the 7 elders of the Alchemist Guild. With his achievements standing at the pinnacle of the 9 realms as the world's top expert, Gu Feiyang was named military breaker by the church. Even his students are famous in the world of martial arts. To go from all that glory to a 15-year-old trash whose meridians are still clogged up, Yu Xiao is enraged, worrying that it will be hard to regain his strength in the future if he doesn't open them soon. He asks the receptionist if she could help him find the materials if he writes her a recipe, getting told to go ahead. Right then, an alchemist named Jia Rong comes calling for Lu Yao, instructing her to hurry up as Master Liang is looking for her. Informing the middle-aged man that Yun Xiao wanted her help to help him look for something. Lu Yao begins heading off to Master Liang. Before she can go, Jia Rong snatches the boy's recipe from her hand. "What kind of a lousy recipe?" announces the first-tier alchemist, crumpling and tossing the recipe away like trash. Top 10 moments captured before disaster. As any document he writes is a priceless treasure. Yu Xiao is overcome with fury at this act. After telling Lu Yao to hurry to Master Liang, Jia Rong turns his back to the boy and tells him to get lost, declaring that this is not a place for children. With this, Yu Xiao brings to light the fact that Jia Rong got promoted to an alchemist just this week, pinpointing exactly what his exam was. The former lets the latter know that by utilizing a blood flame stone to increase his alchemic fusion abilities right before the exam, he has put his life in jeopardy. "What a waste of a talented alchemist," mutters Yun Xiao, informing Jia Rong that he will have to chop off his right arm and destroy his Dun Tien to preserve his life. Ouch, that's almost worse than what I felt when Cody introduced The Rock to beat Roman. Despite knowing that the boy isn't just chatting nonsense since he was able to list his exact symptoms, Jia Rong tells him to stop with the scare tactics. Hearing this, Yu Xiao starts walking off, remarking that it's a shame as he was about to teach Jia Rong the cure. Suddenly, the man no longer wants Yun Xiao to leave and puts his hands on him, demanding to be told the cure. However, the former 9th-tier refiner's powerful gaze forces Jia Rong to unhand him. Scared for his life, Jia Rong bows down before Yun Xiao and begs to be told the cure, much to the shock of the other guild members. As the boy asks for his list of materials, the man rushes to pick the recipe and straighten it out for him. Yu Xiao then proceeds to blow his nose into the piece of paper before crumpling it right back. Dude is on that Sigma grind set. Tossing the recipe at Jia Rong's face, he commands him to bring 10 batches of every item on the list to Blue Jewel Academy. While the first-tier alchemist stands there speechless, Yun Xiao urges him to remember his name and declares respect is not given but earned, and you lost mine from the very beginning. Revealing the cure that will allow him to hold on for a few days, Yun Xiao leaves Jia Rong with an order to meet him alive and well. Afterwards, the man wonders why he was so afraid of a brat that is neither a warrior nor a refiner. Remembering Yun Xiao's words about respect and the ferocious aura he was emitting, Jia Rong vows to rip him into 1,000 pieces after finding a solution. Blood still pretending to be tough, that's tough. Elsewhere, Lu Yao informs the 2nd-grade refiner, Li Yun Xiao, of a few ingredients that the teenager asked her to find. Prior to leaving, Yu Xiao tells Jia Rong that his right hand would only hold for 3 more days, after which he won't be able to refine again. Hearing this, the already shaken-up man falls further into despair. Questioning if the boy is lying, Jia Rong wonders how he is supposed to find the materials in such a short span of time, given that he has never even heard of half of them. On the other hand, when you ask Lu Yao for all the materials in Yun Xiao's recipe, as the receptionist begins to list them, the 2nd-grade refiner is baffled, questioning if the boy left any way for them to contact him. For one, you to think so highly of someone was unheard of, making Lu Yao wonder where Yun Xiao came from. Who's gone tell her? She asked the refiner about the materials, given that she hadn't heard of them despite being in the Alchemist Guild for 3 years. Much to Lu Yao's surprise, even Wan Yu is unaware about most of them. Though having a feeling that the resulting product will boost the levels of warriors enormously, he urges the receptionist to contact him if Yun Xiao comes back again. Back over with Yun Xiao, he notes that Jia Rong will have a hard time finding the materials. Wanting to find another way, the former 9th-tier refiner checks what the boy has in his storage ring, only to find it filled with garbage. The one barely good item he finds is the black-hilted iron-heavy sword, weighing around 32 kilograms. Missing his star sword, Yun Xiao effortlessly swings around the heavy sword, deciding to use it until he opens the 7 meridians and forges a Xuan weapon himself. Du got that sleeper build. Soon, Yun Xiao arrives at the academy and gets attacked by 2 students named Yu Feng and Luo Jia. Avoiding their attacks with ease, the boy prepares to strike back. Right then, Han Bai and Chun Jun, 2 of Li Yun Xiao's best friends, come to his aid, intercepting Lan Fei's dogs. Having opened 4 of his meridians, Han Bai collides with Du Feng. Being equally matched, the 2 push each other back. However, Luo Jia jumps in and clashes with Han Bai. As the former has unclogged 5 of his meridians, he overpowers the latter and ends up breaking his arm. Du Feng then tells Han Bai and Chun Jun to get out of there, warning them that they will become collateral damage if they don't listen. Suddenly, a voice declares that anyone who dares to bully Li Yun Xiao will have to go through her. Seeing the princess of Tian Shui country, Qin Ru Sui, herself coming to his aid, the reincarnated soul wonders how a trash like Yun Xiao has such connections. Not having the gall to disrespect the princess, Lan Fei's underlings begin to move out, just as they turn their backs to him. Yun Xiao chimes in, declaring they aren't going to leave that easily after beating up his friends. As Du Feng snarks at this proclamation, the boy remarks that he just wants to see the difference between 5 meridians and 0. While Luo Ji gets fired up, Du Feng jumps in first to teach Yun Xiao a lesson with his 4 meridians. The spectators look on and worry in anticipation, only to be met with an utterly shocking outcome. Yun Xiao stands victorious, having kicked him right in the family jewels. Oof. Holding his crotch, Du Feng curls up on the ground, writhing in agony. Luo Jia accuses Yun Xiao of playing dirty, but the boy argues that he only lifted his right knee without knowing that Du Feng would run into him. While the onlookers buy into this story, Luo Jia refuses to believe that his friend would get accidentally kicked like that. Unleashing the power of his 5 meridians, the high-ranked warrior charges towards Yun Xiao, vowing to avenge Du Feng by ending him. As a barrage of fists rains down on the boy, his friends scream at him to run. Though, Yun Xiao simply stands his ground, lifting his black-hilted iron-heavy sword up to intercept the onslaught. In the goofiest manner possible, Luo Jia ends up cutting his fist on the blade. Yun Xiao proceeds to add insult to injury, striking his opponent down with yet another kick in the nuts. Bro does not want them to continue the generation. Once again, the spectators buy into Yun Xiao's narrative, wondering how someone could be so stupid to try and block a sword with his bare fists. If I can't even take down a few warriors, then I would rather die, proclaims the former 9th tier refiner, announcing that hurting his friends has severe consequences. Yun Xiao then kicks Luo Jia into Du Feng, sending the 2 flying into a wall and causing them to pee themselves. As the boy towers over Lan Fei's defeated underlings, Han Bai tells everyone to leave the area. Meanwhile, Chun Jun wonders if Yun Xiao has activated his meridians, getting convinced that the stupid enemies hurt themselves. My guy graduated from the Among Us Academy in gaslighting. Right then, Qin Ru Sui questions, Li Yun Xiao, are you really Li Yun Xiao? The princess fears that the Du and Luo family, who have always been against the Li family, will use this situation against him. Unfazed, the boy sinks his heavy sword inches away from Du Feng and Luo Jia's crotches, nonchalantly vowing to destroy whatever makes them a man if it comes to that. He then starts heading back to the dorms, leaving Qin Ru Sui flustered. After Yun Xiao leave, his 3 friends note that attacks from external forces aren't the main concern. Rather, it's the fact that the academy will simply look the other way if the students fight amongst themselves, meaning that the real danger to Yun Xiao's well-being is Lan Fei. Not only has the overwhelming force already activated 7 meridians, but he is also about to train his spirit to become a champion, a level that is far greater than a mere warrior. Sometime later, Yun Xiao arrives back to his dorm, lamenting his weak body. He notes the need to train even if he can't activate his meridians yet. Let's do this, declares Yun Xiao, taking a stance to get ready for Heavenly Tyrant body training technique. Once upon a time, the martial world held an event to determine the top 10 strongest fighters, crowning the 10 great martial kings as the pinnacle of power in the martial world. Among them, the man called Ao Chang Kong was thought to be the strongest. This gave rise to his nickname, the Tyrant Martial Sovereign. Ao Chang Kong's body training technique, famous for being the ultimate martial arts, was obtained by Gu Feiyang through sheer coincidence. Ah yes, that plot armor finally kicking in. Now, reborn as Li Yun Xiao, he finally gets the chance to try out this body-tempering technique that's supposed to be the strongest one known to man for the first time ever. Though, the boy's entire being soon starts to feel like it's getting ripped apart, making him realize why Ao Chang Kong was so powerful. Regardless, Yu Xiao musters up the courage to continue using the body training technique as it will enable him to reach the level of a martial king even without opening his meridians. Being the third strongest among the 10 great martial kings himself in his past life, Yun Xiao pushes through the pain. Talent, determination, courage, I lack nothing, proclaims the boy, activating the first form of the tyrant body technique called Moonlight. Suddenly, a sharp jolt of lightning flows through his entire body, sending him rolling across the floor in immense agony. Getting slammed into the nearby wall, Yun Xiao coughs up a bit of blood. However, his pride won't allow him to give up as he once again activates the Moonlight form. Nah, dude gotta be a masochist. The next day, Yun Xiao arrives at the Academy's gravity training grounds, noting that his body will massively benefit from the gravity chambers thanks to having the body training technique as a foundation. Though seeing the other students walking around makes him feel nostalgic about the good old days, when he was just a normal fighter like them a few decades ago. As per his body's current limitation, Yun Xiao arrives at the teleporter for the tenfold gravity chamber. Getting transported there, the boy starts huffing and puffing right out the gate, suffering a drastic effect on his body. Had it not been for the former 9th tier refiner's mental preparation, Yun Xiao would have already crumbled. Dragging himself the stairs, he sees that a lot of people are waiting outside the 200 training rooms. Using Universal Detect to spot the training room that is about to get freed up, Yun Xiao quickly marches towards it, beating the other trainees who had been waiting there for ages. Needing to grasp the Moonlight form quickly so that he can withstand the force of using medicine to open his meridians, Yu Xiao begins heading inside the training room. However, he gets stopped by Yu Hezheng, a peak martial disciple with 7 of his meridians opened. "You just got here, right? Let me have this room," remarks the latter, only to be told that he should get lost. Witnessing this, the spectators start gossiping about how shameful it is for a top student like Hezheng to get burned by the noob who hasn't even opened a single meridian. This irritates the peak martial disciple, who warns Yun Xiao not to embarrass him and tells him to just use his name in case anything comes up in the academy from now on. Bro really thinks he's him. Of course, Yun Xiao ends up reiterating his earlier words in an even more condescending tone. Suddenly, Hezheng starts laughing like a maniac and bursts forth his wild energy. Amused at the fact that piece of trash without any energy fluctuations dares to speak in such a manner, the peak martial disciple vows to teach him some rules that new students must abide by. Witnessing Hezheng burst forth with an immense energy, the other trainees start glazing his feet. The peak martial disciple announces that he is in a good mood today, so he will only break Yun Xiao's ribs instead of ending his life. Hezheng roars out only for the boy to simply walk away. Noting the former's technique to be concealing Tiger Fist, the latter tells him that his attack's form is strong but lacking in the imposing spirit required for it. Already shaken up by this remark, Hezheng gets irritated further by the spectators' commentary and leaps to finish off Yun Xiao. Turning around in his snap, the former martial king unleashes his dragon-like imposing presence, leaving Hezheng feeling like he is the one in danger. An overwhelming feeling that a dragon is about to eat him whole. The peak martial disciple ignores what his entire being is telling him and looks to crush Yun Xiao with brute strength alone. Much to Hezheng's dismay, the boy grabs his wrist to stop the attack and lands a crushing blow on his right arm. Sighing in disappointment at his weak body not allowing him to finish off his foe, Yun Xiao decides to make do with just making him lose an arm. As Hezheng and the spectators wonder how someone without any meridians open is so strong, Luo Lan Duo arrives at the scene, telling the peak martial disciple to give up on the training room that he was going to get for her. So, robot beat up for simping deserved. The imposing girl compliments Yun Xiao for training his techniques when he can't strengthen himself, only to say in the same vein that a technique without power is unfit for any use. As the boy says that she isn't wrong, Lan Duo announces that he will never beat her and questions why he puts himself through all this, given that his future is bright regardless as the young master of the Li family. Hearing this, the other trainees recognize Yun Xiao as the infamous Trash, who chased Lan Duo relentlessly and only gave up after getting beaten. Turns out, before Gu Feiyang's soul awakened in his body, Li Yun Xiao was rejected by Lan Duo, getting told that she will think about it only can defeat her. Hezheng starts laughing at this revelation, only to shut up instantly after just a quick glance from the former marshal. "If there's nothing else, I'm going to train," announces Yun Xiao, slamming the training room's door shut in their faces. "That's my Giga Chad." Even after a few moments go by, Heizheng is still unable to stop himself from trembling and questions why a single glare from the Li family's trash has made him lose his will to fight. To rub salt into his wounds, Lan Duo cosigns Yun Xiao's words about the problem with his concealing tiger fist technique, leaving him with a burning fury against the boy. Elsewhere, Yun Xiao marvels at the centuries-old black iron statues, thinking it to be remarkable that there's people who follow the path of the tenacious. He then gets ready to start his training, noting that it will take him about 10 years to return to the Nine Heavens realm after opening his meridians and fusing his Yuan energies. Going crashing into a wall, Yun Xiao realizes that the effect of the body training technique has multiplied under the tenfold gravity. Shrugging himself off, the boy notes that he will be able to reach the physical level of a martial apprentice within 3 days at this rate, granting him at least a 60% chance to successfully unclog his meridians. And so, Yun Xiao begins his brutal training once again. Meanwhile, the story of him defeating Yu Heizheng with a single blow gets spread throughout the tenfold gravity chamber. 3 days later, Yun Xiao exits the training room, covered in wounds. Seeing the battered and bruised boy, the other trainees get motivated to work hard. Right then, one of them shouts out in shock. Everyone gathers to see the commotion, only to be terrified to find that the black iron stone statues that they had been practicing on for years have been blown to pieces. Afterwards, Li Yun Xiao examines his now strong and muscular body, whose scars have already healed completely. Having experienced firsthand that Ao Chan Kong's body training technique is indeed the best one of its kind, the boy looks to use his newfound physical strength of a martial apprentice to attempt some refining. After all, obtaining just a few low-level pills will accelerate his cultivation speed greatly. Sometime later, Yun Xiao is walking when he feels someone's arm coming towards him. With his eyes closed, the boy grabs the incoming limb and slams the person it's attached to onto the ground. My guy really unlocked Ultra Instinct in there, though it's just poor Hun Bai. As he worries that his arm might be broken, Yun Xiao jokingly says that it only fell off, insisting that it's not his fault that he snuck up on him. Examining his friend's limb, Yun Xiao questions why he is there. Hun Bai remarks that he wanted to test him out a bit since he was acting a little odd the last time they met. After confirming that Yun Xiao has somehow gotten this strong without opening his meridians, Hun Bai informs him that teacher Luo Yunxiang has been looking everywhere for him. "Luo Yunxiang, why is that little girl looking for me?" inquires Yun Xiao, suddenly popping Hun Bai's dislocated arm back into place, almost pulling out his soul along with it. Lil Broing the teacher is insane, wondering if Yun Xiao has lost his mind referring to their teacher as a little girl. Hun Bai suddenly leaps onto him. He announces that the boy might be in big trouble, as Lan Fei has disappeared these past few days to cultivate in seclusion and break into the First Origin realm. "Calm down, it's just the First Origin realm," remarks Yun Xiao, once again confusing Hun Bai with his unconcerned behavior, considering that with this, Lan Fei has condensed his Yuan Qi and broken into the ranks of a real martial warrior. Hun Bai then starts shaking Yun Xiao, questioning how he can say it's just the First Origin realm when his friends have been worried sick for him for days. Suddenly, Yun Xiao grabs his friend's shoulder and declares that he has something more important that he needs him to do. As Hun Bai wonders what could be more important than the threat of Lan Fei, Yun Xiao proclaims, "Lend me all your money," wanting to buy pills with them. Surely, he is talking about cultivation pills, right? The former fulfills the latter's request and begins heading out, confirming if he is really not worried at all. Giggling like an idiot, Yun Xiao tells Hun Bai that he is so worried, but there's no point in it in the end, joking about returning the money only if he is still alive. Relieved that the boy can still laugh even when things are this bad, the friend commends the change he has gone through recently and gives up on worrying for him. Right then, a kick that shatters even the massive wooden door sends Hun Bai flying at Yun Xiao's feet, followed by a bloodied and unconscious Chun Jun. Of course, this is Lan Fei's doing, who now marches towards the former 9th tier refiner. "Li Yun Xiao, how dare you touch my men?" questions the martial warrior. Brimming with his sinister aura, Lan Fei then vows to cripple him completely. While Du Feng and Luo Jiyao glaze their boss, Yun Xiao checks up on his friends. Feeling relieved that they don't have any life-threatening injuries, he provokes Lan Fei, remarking that he isn't special just because he can glow a little to show off. The martial warrior questions if Yun Xiao will bow before him for his mistakes, or if he will have to cripple his arms and legs first. Cripple me? How interesting, mutters the reincarnated soul, declaring that it's been a very long time since he has heard such an arrogant statement. Walking towards Lan Fei, Yun Xiao unleashes his intimidating glare. With this, the martial warrior is overcome with an inexplicable sense of uneasiness and fear. My God, you be having that effect on people. Lan Fei instantly charges forward to attack, absurdly feeling like he would never have the courage to strike if he doesn't do it now. Complimenting his foe for being decisive and unambiguous, Yun Xiao raises his heavy sword towards him. How dare you mock me, declares the former, bringing his blade down on the latter with all his might. Having blocked Lan Fei's assault with his heavy sword, Yun Xiao gets pushed back and his weapon suffers a crack. However, even after all this, he still doesn't lose his footing. This leaves Lan Fei baffled, making him wonder how such trash managed to withstand his attack. After all, even if he were a martial apprentice instead of being a martial warrior, there should have been no way for someone who still hasn't opened his meridians to block an attack that Lan Fei unleashed with 120% of his strength. Is that a Jujutsu Kaisen reference? Suddenly, Yun Xiao lets out an exhilarated laughter, announcing that it's been a long time since he fought with his full strength. Remarking that Lan Fei's sword slash felt really satisfying, the boy invites him to strike again so that he can give him a few more pointers. Gritting his teeth at this comment, the first Origin Realm martial warrior furiously unleashes the Lan family's flowing cloud slash technique. However, Yun Xiao looks completely unimpressed and criticizes Lan Fei for messing up the technique, giving him pointers on how to execute it properly. "Shut up and go to hell," replies the enraged foe, not standing for the patronization. Declaring Lan Fei to be extremely lucky to have gotten advice from him, Yun Xiao swings his heavy sword with an immense weight and intercepts the incoming attack. With this, he disarms the martial warrior, sending his blade flying into a nearby wooden frame. Should have just listened to bro. No. As the battle concludes, Yun Xiao assumes a relaxed stance, exuding an aura of confidence. Meanwhile, Lan Fei trembles in defeat, unable to come to terms with the fact that a martial warrior like him would get defeated by trash, who hasn't even opened his meridians. Right then, Yun Xiao kicks Lan Fei right in the face, launching him into a wall. While the martial warrior is still trying to process what just took place, his underlings shout at him to be careful. Suddenly, Yun Xiao brings the heavy sword down inches away from Lan Fei's moneymaker. Snapping back to his senses, the latter manages to stutter some words out of his trap. "Wah, what are you doing? Yo, you dare touch me." Leading into this remark, Yun Xiao mockingly replies that he is oh so shaken up from the big, strong attack earlier that his hands are numbing and making him unable to hold the sword properly. Realizing the implication of Yun Xiao's snarky response, Lan Fei tells him to remove the sword. The boy was too lazy to settle his previous score with the martial warriors, so he was willing to let it go. However, Lan Fei had now injured Chun Jun and Han Bai, aside from making an attempt on his life. Am I supposed to just let this slide? Questions Yun Xiao, edging the heavy sword closer to the foe's crotch. With this, Lan Fei tries begging for mercy, promising to do anything in return for his bird remaining intact. Bro is desperate to continue his generation, already wearing diapers from their last encounter with the former 9th-tier refiner, Du Feng. Luo Jia and even the others who didn't see their previous humiliation start trembling in fear. Yun Xiao then tells Lan Fei to give him some money if he wants to keep his manhood intact, ordering his numerous underlings to pay up if they want to live as well. After emptying their pockets, Lan Fei and his lackeys ask for permission to leave. Suddenly, Yun Xiao spots an expensive-looking jade pendant around the boss's waist and takes it off him. "I can give you anything else, just not this jade pendant," exclaims the martial warrior, getting an annoyed look from the former 9th-tier refiner. Albeit feeling scared, Lan Fei explains that the protection jade pendant is a generational treasure in his family. As there are only 5 of it to be worn by the core members of the Lan family, the pendant is a symbol of status, meaning that it would be of no use to Yun Xiao, but extremely important to the martial warrior. La just straight up lying now. Hearing this, the reincarnated soul gives Lan Fei a choice. Since the latter's underlings had barely any money to give, the former will make them all end up like Du Feng and Luo Jia if he can't have the jade pendant. On the other hand, everyone can leave peacefully if Lan Fei lets him have it. Obviously, the jade pendant is more important to the martial warrior, but he could never look his lackeys in the eyes again if he chooses it over them. Suddenly, a girl shouts out, "Boss Lan, Hearing this, Lan Fei declares that even the precious jade pendant is nothing to him when compared to his fellows, bringing them all to tears. He then tells them all that it's time to leave, questioning if Lan Fei still wants to act cool before leaving even though he has been let off the hook very easily. Li Xiao swings at him. As the martial warrior is unable to avoid it, the girl from earlier jumps in front of him. Of course, the former 9th tier refiner is just playing. Having accomplished his goal of not letting Lan Fei look cool in his exit, Li Yun Xiao pulls the weapon back into the storage ring right before it makes contact. Though, the girl falls unconscious from the shock anyways. Flustered and embarrassed, the martial warrior announces that they are going now and stomps out. Examining the supposedly worthless jade pendant, Li Yun Xiao notes that it's actually a 5-colored divine stone. Suddenly, he orders the person lurking in the shadows to show themselves. Complying with the command, Jia Rong appears before Li Yun Xiao. Despite witnessing the entire scene, he doesn't have the slightest clue as to how the boy was able to defeat Lan Fei. Originally, Jia Rong planned on sneaking up on Li Yun Xiao to force the detoxification method out of him. However, the earlier battle has left him completely unconfident in his mid-tier warrior capabilities in beating the former 9th tier refiner, at least due to self-aware. Upon Li Yun Xiao's query, Jia Rong reveals that he has only managed to gather 6 batches of the recipe despite his best efforts. Taking them from the man, the boy orders him to heal Chun Jun and Hun Bai before anything. "Who do you think I am?" questions Jia Rong, protesting being ordered around like that. Though when Li Yun Xiao tells him to scram if he isn't happy with it, the rank 1 alchemist is left with no choice but to comply. After healing the boy's friends, Jia Rong demands to be given the detoxification method, declaring that he will never be ordered around again. "Don't be so sure about that," snarks Li Yun Xiao, remarking that countless people have begged to be commanded by him and were rejected. He bets that soon, Jia Rong will be more than happy to listen to him. Jia Rong exclaims that Li Yun Xiao is lying, only to be told that there's no reason to lie to a mere rank 1 alchemist like him. Suddenly, the latter hurls a piece of paper at the former with immense strength, making him work just to catch it. Though the effort is worth it, as Jia Rong finds the prescription to be absolutely incredible. Realizing that Li Yun Xiao was telling the truth all along, the man finds his eccentric behavior is completely unreadable, having gotten what he came here for. Jia Rong announces that they are now even and begins to head out, not willing to die for payback against the humiliation he suffered before. First smart character ever. Suddenly, Li Yun Xiao remarks that even though the prescription will cure the bodily damage, the deterioration of Jia Rong's soul power during that period will make it impossible for him to reach the level of a rank 1 alchemist again in this lifetime. Though, the former 9th tier refiner just so happens to know of a way to make Jia Rong a real rank 1 alchemist within 50 days instead of 50 years. Unable to believe this absurd statement, the man shouts out, "You can't fool me." Condescendingly looking down on Jia Rong, Li Yun Xiao proclaims that it isn't worth his time to fool someone like him. This makes the former settle down, and he notes that the latter's words are too tempting to be ignored, even if they are too suspicious. Apologizing for his outburst, Jia Rong questions if such a way is really out there, and if so, what would he have to do for Li Yun Xiao to help him? "Be my servant," declares the boy, instantly getting his preposterous demand shut down. However, Li Yun Xiao is of the view that Jia Rong is the one not qualified to be his servant, so he will give the privilege of serving him for only 50 days. Jia Rong realizes that the former 9th tier refiner is being completely sincere with this sentiment, as if his words were an unquestionable truth. With his mind all jumbled up, the man tries to make sense of the situation. Suddenly, Li Yun Xiao questions, "Do you feel aggrieved to be my servant?" Before Jia Rong can answer, the boy glares at him, exerting such a powerful and crushing pressure that he falls to his knees. Dude really unleashed his conqueror's haki. "Just who is this brat?" wonders the alchemist. Terrified from the soul-crushing pressure, he understands that Li Yun Xiao could disintegrate him at any time if he wanted to. The latter then gives the former 3 breaths time to either accept his offer or reject it. Realizing that there's a chance for him to rise to the top by listening to Li Yun Xiao, Jia Rong doesn't want to regret this moment for the rest of his life by rejecting this offer. And so, he accepts the privilege of being his servant. "Not bad, you were quite decisive," remarks Li Yun Xiao, announcing that Jia Rong will realize later that this was the correct choice. The former 9th tier refiner then gives the man some cultivation instructions, announcing that if he can't advance to a rank 1 alchemist within 5 days even after following them, then he lacks the aptitude to be his servant. Examining the instructions, Jia Rong is baffled to see the soul cultivation art in them. Though, Yun Xiao is unconcerned as it's the trashiest of all the soul cultivation techniques. Telling the alchemist to call him Young Master Yun from now on, the boy promises not to be stingy when rewarding him if he behaves well. Given the permission to leave, Jia Rong bows before his new master and heads out. On his way back, the alchemist is extremely careful to hide the instructions, still unable to believe that he got his hands on a technique of legends. Jia Rong concludes that the reason he was trembling before an ordinary child was because of the legendary soul dementing technique, considering that he gave him the precious soul cultivation technique as if it were nothing. To repay this generosity, Jia Rong wouldn't consider it a loss even if Yun Xiao made him his slave for several years. Though, he does still wonder just who exactly is young Master Yun. Yun Xiao cultivates at night, lamenting that his soul power was inferior to a mere rank 1 alchemist after being reborn. To frighten Jia Rong, he used the soul dementing technique, losing much of his remaining soul power as a result. Thinking that becoming the strongest in this generation will just be a matter of time, Yun Xiao doesn't want to stop there. He wants to become an existence surpassing even his previous life, breaking through into the realm of legends. To that end, Yun Xiao is relying on a soul cultivation technique that he, Gu Feiyang, had discovered in the Tiandang Mountains before his death. Divine Soul Expansion Technique, it's an unheard-of technique with a method beyond anyone's imagination. Yun Xiao thinks that it's linked to his rebirth, since the voice in his mind was reciting the text of this divine technique when he regained his past life's memories. With its successful practice, the former 9th tier refiner's soul power will recover at a terrifying speed. The plot armor getting thicker than Lizzo at this rate. On the Ti and Mu continents, the cultivators are basically divided into 2 types. The martial cultivations specialize in the cultivation of qi, with a few specializing in cultivating their bodies, becoming the so-called ordinary martial warriors. On the other hand, the alchemy cultivators specialize in cultivation of the soul. Spirit, qi, soul. If either one is trained to a certain existence, a person can become an existence capable of shaking an entire continent. Though Li Yun Xiao knew the importance of the link between the 3, having previously reached the status of a martial king by cultivating both his qi and soul. The other martial kings were the same, becoming far stronger than anyone else by cultivating 2 of the 3 to the peak. However, Gu Feiyang realized that his physical body prevented him from breaking through upon being trapped at the pinnacle of the 9 heavens realm, driving him to obtain the tyrant body tempering technique. After all, it is only when one's body, qi, and spirit are all at their peak that one can attempt to break through to the legendary 10 worlds realm. We got Sir Yaps a lot over here. With his soul power recovering quickly, Yun Xiao vows to break through to the 10 worlds divine realm in this life and become invincible. But first, he will use the 5-color divine stone he got from Lan Fei to craft the 13 divine needles and arouse the body's potential, allowing him to unclog his meridians. Afterwards, Yun Xiao arrives at his storage room filled with decent materials, provided by his competent new servant, Jia Rong. Soul power, enfold. Shouts out the boy, using his past experience as a top-ranking alchemist and his soul power to masterfully forge the divine needles. Inserting them into his body, Yun Xiao manages to unclog 5 of his meridians. I'll get a bit disappointed. The former 9th tier refiner knows that the 5-color divine stone is extremely effective at arousing the body's potential, now wanting to find a way to obtain the other 4 jade pendants from the Lan family. Later, Chunjun and Hunbai arrive, mistaking the green residue in Yun Xiao's skin from the medicine as Lan Fei poisoning him. What do you mean he isn't the Hulk? Clearing up the misunderstanding, the boy informs the 2 of everything that happened when they were unconscious, leaving them in complete and utter disbelief. Haha, I knew it, remarks Chunjun, expressing that there's no way that General Fei Long's son could have been a loser anyways. He gets excited that once the 3 of them graduate, they will inherit their family's titles of nobility and assemble an army to destroy the Lan family's brats. Though, Hunbai worries about the dangers that Yun Xiao's newfound strength and recent actions will bring in the future. Despite this, Chunjun is convinced that Lan Fei and his lackeys won't be able to do anything, given that they can't call for outside help. After all, there are only 2 people who have reached the 5 elements realms to become martial kings in the country of Tian Shuai. One of them is none other than Jia Lan Academy's headmaster himself, Zhang Lishan. as he is considered to be the strongest man in the entire country. Even the emperor himself wouldn't be able to cause trouble within the academy. Right then, Han Bai questions if Chun Jun has forgotten about the man who's ranked third in the academy's mini Feng Yun ranking, the Lan family's other descendant and Lan Fei's half-brother, Lan Xuan. While the two friends tremble at this thought, Yu Xiao is unconcerned. He doesn't deem the academy's ranking to be even worth mentioning, given that he was ranked third in the entire continent's Feng Yun ranking back in the day. My guy just wants to flex. Han Bai then reveals that Lan Yuan is an 18-year-old genius martial master who's already about to break through to the Two Forces realm, noting that he might become a deputy commander of the Guardians at the rate he's progressing. Since Lan Xuan will be graduating this year, Chun Jun and Han Bai pray that they stay and are able to survive until then, hoping that he won't trouble himself with small fry such as themselves. However, Yu Xiao tells them not to worry about that, since Lan Xuan will definitely come find him. Though, if he doesn't, the boy will go find him instead. His friends beg him not to make this situation worse, but Yu Xiao simply can't wait to get his hands on the martial warrior's 5-color divine stone. Lan Fei goes running to his uncle Wang Feng, who was a teacher at Jia Lan Academy, begging for Yu Xiao to be taught a lesson. However, Wang Feng tells him to shut up since he was the one who caused the problem, not wanting to ruin the many years that Lan Fei's mother has put into educating Lan Xuan. Despite this, the brat insists that he just wants to vent his frustration by having his brother teach that trash a lesson. Hearing this, Wang Feng declares Lan Fei to be an idiot. After all, the trash of the Li family is a nobody, meaning that his greatest enemy is Lan Xuan himself. If the latter learns that his brother lost the token passed down in the Lan family to such trash, he will have the clan discipline him. Wish someone disciplined me. Pause. In the worst-case scenario, Lan Fei could lose his status as a direct descendant and become second in line. Then what do I do? Questions the pathetic boy, begging his uncle for help. Telling him not to worry as he is the son of his dear sister, Wang Feng promises to help him by applying to be the chief assessor in the yearly examination that is coming up in 7 days. There, if Yu Xiao is unable to display the light that shines from open meridians, he will have the right to expel him according to the school rules. Wang Feng will then recover the jade pendant, after which Lan Fei can do whatever he wants with the Li family's trash. I have to wait another 7 days, complains the spoiled brat, not wanting to wait to get his hands on Yu Xiao. Blood is more annoying than Big Mom. Suddenly, Wang Feng snarks, questioning how he can count on Lan Fei to do something more important if he can't even put up with this, remarking that there's a big difference between Lan Fei and Lan Xuan. The man expresses worry for his sister. Hearing this, the brat decides to listen to his uncle. However, he wants to ruin Yu Xiao's reputation in these 7 days instead and hopes that Wang Feng will cooperate. As Lan Fei reveals his plan, the uncle starts laughing maniacally and gives him the go-ahead. "You really are my sister's son. I looked down on you just now," shouts out Wang Feng. Sometime later, Yu Xiao gets his divine soul expansion technique disrupted by some ruckus. Using Universal Detect, he spots a couple silhouettes. Wondering if they are thieves, Yu Xiao opens a door, only to be greeted with a love letter from Luo Lan Duo. As he confidently heads out to meet her in the autumn forest, a couple of Lan Fei's lackeys leave something inside his dorm. Unbeknownst to them, Yu Xiao observes the entire scene from nearby. Returning his room, he finds an assortment of women's undergarments lying on his bed. Ayo, where did bras get them? Lan Fei. Oh, Lan Fei, mutters Yu Xiao, announcing that he will also play dirty if that's how they are doing things now. Later, the boy arrives at the autumn forest. Being one of the training grounds at day, it becomes a great meetup spot for crazed teenagers at night. Suddenly, a blonde girl comes running to Yu Xiao for help, getting chased by a perverted boy. However, the former 9th-tier refiner instead points his heavy sword at her neck. "Sus, Senior," mutters the girl, getting told not to move if she doesn't want to die. Bursting into tears, the maiden promises to do anything if Yu Xiao just helps her. Right then, the pervert catches up to the girl and grabs her shoulders. Telling the reincarnated soul to get lost, the creep pushes the helpless maiden on ground. She repeatedly lets out cries for help, but Yu Xiao doesn't move. Suddenly, he starts unbuttoning his shirt and remarks, "Don't worry, babe, I will save you soon." Smacking the pervert away, the girl runs towards Yu Xiao. Enraged, the former boasts about being Li Yu Tian, the son of the Imperial Guard Commander, Li Yu Chi. Stopping the girl from coming any closer by giving her a pat on the shoulder, Yun Xiao announces, "I am not the one saving you. They are." Li Yun looks around, finding himself surrounded by the academy's students, led by their dean, Feng Buping, aka the God of Slaughter. Hiding in the bushes nearby, Lan Fei, Du Feng, and Luo Jia wonder what is going on. Suddenly, Feng Buping's loud cry echoes out in the autumn forest. "You animal," as he slaps ever-living crap out of Li Yun. Meanwhile, Han Bai and Chun Jun go around gathering the others to beat up the pervert. While Li Yun gets pulverized by the students, Feng Buping checks up on the girl. Asking her name, he questions how she ended up with that animal. "Ma, my name is Meng Wu. I. As the girl stutters over her words, Yun Xiao suddenly pulls her into his arms, declaring that nobody's going to bully her anymore as long as he is here. The boy signals Meng Wu not to make a sound, making her realize that he saw through their act, leaving Yun Xiao to take care of the girl. Feng Buping heads off to make sure Li Yun is still alive. Seeing the boys shut Meng Wu up, Du Feng and Luo Jia note that he saw through their ploy. They ask Lan Fei if they aren't going to save Li Yun, getting told that doing so would just be walking right into Yun Xiao's trap. Lan Fei then questions his other lackeys if everything has been put in place, assuring their boss that they handled the matter with utmost care. The two underlings mock Du Feng and Luo Jia for their prior failures. Who's gonna tell him? While Lan Fei wonders how Yun Xiao is going to deal with the next ploy, the latter looks forward to him coming right out with it, all the while embracing Meng Wu like he is comforting her. As Feng Buping arrives there with Li Yun's battered and bruised body, Yun Xiao lifts Meng Wu up into a princess carry. He tells her not to be scared anymore as the perverted animal has been crippled, leaving the girl completely flustered. How ruthless. Yun Xiao exchanges nods of approval with Han Bai and Chun Jun, who learned to do so from the very best. Feng Buping then instructs everyone to leave, promising to report everything to the headmaster as Li Yun brought this upon himself. He also tells Yun Xiao that it isn't appropriate for him to keep hugging Meng Wu, setting her back with one of her dormmates. Letting out a grin, the boy remarks that there's no need to thank him as he was just doing the right thing. "Give this man an Oscar right now." "Don't leave," shouts out someone from nearby, being none other than Lan Fei. Leading a horde of female students, he informs Feng Buping that there's a perverted thief in the academy who has been going around stealing undergarments from girls, having lost something of hers too. Princess Ru Suwei insists also that the creep be caught and punished. Before Yun Xiao gets accused of anything, he asks Lan Fei why he was the one leading the charge even though the female students lost their underwear. This makes the girls wonder the same thing, as they start giving him suspicious looks. Suddenly, one of Lan Fei's lackeys announces, "I saw the thief running here with my own eyes." The underling paints his boss in the light that he couldn't bear to see such a disgusting act, which is why he gathered everyone to catch the thief. Lan Fei quickly latches onto this argument, questioning if Yun Xiao changed the topic because he is the thief. The lackey concurs, lying about the thief's figure being extremely similar to the former 9th-tier refiner. Yun Xiao calmly asks Lan Fei what he's trying to accomplish with such slander, all the while thinking, here it comes. As expected, to prove his innocence, the martial warrior wants him to allow his dorm to be searched. Eyes then level planning right here. As Yun Xiao inquires why he should do as Lan Fei says, Qin Ru Suwei presses the lackey Meng Kun and questions if he is sure about what's seeing the thief. Albeit worrying that lying to a princess would have severe consequences, the underling folds when Lan Fei looks at him and reiterates that the person was undoubtedly Yun Xiao. Hearing this, the former 9th-tier refiner respectfully allows teacher Feng to search his dorm, demanding an explanation from Lan Fei if he is proven innocent. After settling on this exchange, Yun Xiao tells Princess Ru Suwei not to worry as he has always done things in an honest and just manner, leaving an upstanding impression on all the girls. While the boy leads everyone to his dorm, Ru Suwei wonders why he is being an idiot like this when someone's clearly trying to frame him. As everyone arrives at Yan Xiao's dorm, they find Wang Feng waiting outside, expressing surprise at Feng Buping being there too. The latter announces his desire to catch the perverted troublemaker himself. Suddenly, the former 9th-tier refiner presses him about being at his dorm, despite Meng Kun seeing the thief run towards the autumn forest. Hearing this, Feng Buping questions the same thing. Wang Feng proceeds to ignore the question completely and says that he simply wants to catch the thief just like them, proposing to expel the perverse culprit immediately after his capture. Accepting the suggestion, Feng Buping declares that anyone who dares to play tricks to wrong innocent people will not be forgiven. As Wang Feng agrees, Yun Xiao chimes in and expresses his relief at the fair proceedings, asking everyone to prove his innocence. "Let's see if I am the pervert Lan Fei calls me," remarks the boy, inviting anyone to search however they please. Confirming with Lan Fei that everything has been set up, Wang Feng orders the students to go in and search. The warrior sends Meng Kun to help with the search, prompting Feng Buping to reiterate that he will expel the person who dares to blame an innocent. At least someone has sense around here. Suddenly, Qin Ru Sue declares that she will go in as well, hoping to stop Meng Kun in time if he tries to pull something. Since everyone feels worried, why not have all of us go in together? Suggests Wang Feng, irritating the princess. Of course, Yun Xiao confidently invites them all inside, knowing what's about to happen. Lo and behold, Meng Kun finds nothing in the spots where he left them. The lackey whispers this information to his boss, infuriating him. While Yun Xiao continues to provoke his nephew, Wang Feng realizes the situation. Quickly calling off the search, he clears the boy of any suspicion. Seeing Yun Xiao, let out a little smile. Princess Ru Sue feels relieved, understanding that he must have known about the entire situation and made her worry for nothing. Declaring the former 9th-tier refiner to be innocent, Wang Feng announces that it's time to leave. "Leave," mutters Yun Xiao, questioning why catching the thief isn't important anymore. The man insists that running around without a witness or evidence is pointless, assuring everyone that the academy will deal with this incident. Press X for doubt. Bringing to light the fact that Meng Kun lied, Yun Xiao puts the suspicion on Lan Fei. Since the martial warrior owes him an explanation as per their prior agreement, the boy declares that they will simply check his dorm to prove his innocence as well. Of course, Yun Xiao makes sure to let everyone know that he is just being petty and doesn't actually know that Lan Fei is the culprit. Forced to keep his word, the martial warrior takes everyone to his dorm, all the while Meng Wu realizes that he is not going to win this fight. Arriving at Lan Fei's dorm, Yun Xiao tells Han Bai and Chun Jun to commence the search. As they look around the place, Wang Feng stands with his unconcerned nephew in the corner of the room. Right then, a locked chest is found. Declaring that it's where he keeps his private possessions, Lan Fei confidently brings out his personal key to open it. Much to the dismay of everyone involved, it is filled with the missing underwear. Utterly shocked at the sight, Lan Fei swears up and down that Yun Xiao is framing him, getting told that it's impossible to do so since the chest can't be opened without his personal key. As the girls push for him to be expelled, Chun Jun questions why half of the chest contains soap along with the undergarments. Han Bai informs him that aside from stealing underwear, Lan Fei also goes around dropping soap in the men's bathroom and makes people pick it up. Bros straight up went for a fatality, fully ruining the martial warrior's reputation even amongst his lackeys. Yun Xiao once again takes the moral high ground by declaring that their hatred cannot bring true justice. Instead, since Feng Buping and Wang Feng are there, they will judge this matter. The students then erupt in a chant, "Judge him fairly." Questioning how the trash who usually lazes around managed to plot something like this, Feng Buping announces that he will inform the principal of this matter, after which he will decide how to deal with this. However, Princess Ru Sue riles up the girls to riot if Lan Fei isn't expelled, refusing to coexist with a pervert like him. The martial warrior begs his uncle to save him, getting smacked away. "We don't know a useless person," declares Wang Feng, leaving his nephew in pathetic state. As Lan Fei erupts into tears, Yun Xiao condescendingly looks down on him. With justice served, he heads on his way. Soon, the Academy's decision was released to the public, bringing Lan Fei's unanimous expulsion. Rushing over to Yun Xiao's house, Han Bai asks him whether he wants to hear the good news first or the bad one. With the former correctly guessing that the good one is about Lan Fei, the latter gives him the bad news that they are doomed since Wang Feng will be supervising this year's exams. "What doom?" remarks Yun Xiao, promising to make the teacher suffer the same fate as his nephew if he doesn't do his work properly. Han Bai reminds him that Lan Fei was a mere student while Wang Feng is an actual instructor. But the former 9th-tier refiner couldn't care less. As Yun Xiao questions if there's any news about Lan Suan, Han Bai reveals that the ruthless martial warrior has openly announced seeking revenge for his brother. "Perfect," mutters the reincarnated soul, looking forward to getting the 5-colored divine stone from him. Elsewhere at the meeting chamber on the Alchemist Guild's 4th floor, Li Yun Xiao, The crimson-haired teacher who took advice from the former 9th-tier refiner when he first awakened as Li Yun Xiao, refines his Shuan weapon in front of some masters. She politely hands the resulting product to Master Xu Han, the guild master, so that he can examine it. Announcing that the sun-smashing axe has become a first-tier superior Shuan weapon, Xu Han passes Yun Xiao with flying colors. The elders erupt with applause and the lady bows to thank them for their praise. Complimenting Yun Xiao for her hard work, the guild master inquires how she now managed to complete the task she failed at in her previous exams. Remembering Yun Xiao's exact words, she repeats them to Xu Han, stole his whole flow, word for word, bar for bar. Pleased with the intelligent solution, the guild master reveals that someone will soon be sent to inform His Majesty that Tian Shuai now has another talented alchemist, so that he can throw a feast to celebrate her. Realizing that even the master alchemists that aren't adept with Yun Xiao's refinement technique, Yun Sheng begs Xu Han to ask His Majesty not to have a feast since she doesn't like publicity. Though, he informs her that it's a tradition for the king to have a feast with all the dignitaries whenever someone gets promoted to a first-tier alchemist or steps into the Three Powers realm to become a great martial master. Suddenly, Yan Lei declares Yun Xiao to be the most gifted person among Tian Shuai's younger generation, considering she previously reached the Four Quadrants realm and has now become a first-tier alchemist. This feat makes her the only person besides Yang Di in hundreds of years to have made His Majesty throw a feast for them twice in just 3 years. Yun Xiao is awestruck at the flattery, getting told not to be so humble. After all, even though Yang Di was talented, he had the luck and benefit of being the disciple of the 9th-tier refiner, Gu Feiyang. Xu Han thinks that if Yun Xiao gets lucky enough to get a good teacher like that, she might even surpass Yang Di. Hey, I know a guy. Today, the Alchemist Guild must celebrate, announces the guild master. He feels overjoyed at getting 2 first-tier alchemists and the rising stars, Jia Rong and Yun Xiao, in just 1 year. Suddenly, Su Yuan Qiao chimes in. Albeit agreeing with Yun Xiao being a rising star, he thinks that Jia Rong must be deeply poisoned by now. As Xu Han questions what he means, Yun Xiao asks to be excused, though Xu Han tells her that she's now an official first-tier alchemist and the core member of the guild, so there's no need to keep classified information from her. Getting told to continue, Yuan Qiao reveals that Jia Rong cheated in his last exam by using the banned Hellwind Stone. The other masters start throwing a fit, wanting to get rid of someone like that. However, Xu Han tells Yuan Qiao to be careful with throwing around such a major accusation without any evidence, knowing that he has never liked Jia Rong. Having sent someone to stalk the rank 1 alchemist, Yuan Qiao exposes his recently purchased history to the core members, as the items he bought were clearly indicative of detoxing attempts. Xu Han orders for Jia Rong to be brought there immediately. Looking on, Yun Xiao notes that the guild master is one of the only 2 third-tier grandmasters in Tian Shuai and wouldn't let such a transgression pass unpunished. Sometime later, Jia Rong arrives before the alchemists, congratulating Yun Xiao for her promotion. He compliments her for being the overall strongest among the 5 commanders of the State Guardians. Jia Rong then spots Yuan Qiao smirking nearby and asks Xu Han why he was summoned in such a hurry, wondering if it's to celebrate the new first-tier alchemist. Despite feeling weirded out by the alchemist looking well, Yuan Qiao calls him out for pretending to be fine. Informing Jia Rong of the evidence against him, Xu Han asks him for an explanation. At this moment, the man feels lucky that young Master Yun helped relieve his body and soul, feeling forever indebted to him. My guy called it and everything. Shutting down Su Yuan Qiao's accusations, Jia Rong shows everyone his skin. Much to their surprise, his hands look as fair as jade, not having a hint of corrosion from a Hellwind Stone. Refusing to accept this outcome, Yuan Qiao wants to use divine sense to examine Jia Rong's body thoroughly. After all, there's no way that the power of his soul would be able to reach the level of a first-tier alchemist even if he somehow cured the poison. Examining me, the likes of you, mutters Jia Rong, unleashing his soul power to leave Yuan Qiao bloodied. Falling to the ground a bloody mess, Yuan Qiao asks Jia Rong how his soul power got that strong. I am a true alchemist. My soul power is naturally stronger than those of fakers, declares the latter, leaving the former struggling for his breath. Suddenly, Yuan Qiao's body turns into that of an old and fragile arm. Unable to even stand properly anymore, he expresses his desire to retire and return home to spend his remaining years in the countryside, begging Xu Han to approve his request. Everyone looks on at this sorry sight, wondering how just one move from Jia Rong has left Yuan Qiao with less soul power than a martial apprentice. Having gotten such amazing results by practicing Yun Xiao's soul training technique for just 5 days, Jia Rong is more than glad to be his slave for not only 50 days, but 50 years. Nah, the glaze is crazy. Surprised by the man's progress, Hu Han asks him for help in giving Yun Xiao the Alchemist badge. Later, the lady questions Jia Rong if he has ever considered taking in a disciple and brings up Yun Xiao's case without taking his name. The man wonders why she is asking him, being of the view that someone like her would do a much better job. However, Yun Xiao doesn't feel that she is the right person to teach the boy, given that he is the eldest grandson of Duke Jing Guo and the son of General Fei Long. Not realizing that the lady is talking about Yun Xiao, Jia Rong remarks that an idiot like him with a weak body would have difficulty in achieving success in alchemy as well. Regardless, Yun Xiao feels that there's something special about the boy and hopes that the man can at least guide him to become an apprentice alchemist as a way to keep their promise to Duke Jing Guo. In that case, I will meet this student, declares Jia Rong, promising to take him in but only if he meets the minimum standards of an apprentice alchemist. Thanking him for this favor, Yun Xiao hopes that a young alchemist with a great future like Jia Rong can help Yun Xiao. Blood is clueless. 3 days later, the annual exam takes place in Jia Lan Academy. The exam venue gets sponsored by none other than the previous Alchemist Guild president, Yan Di, himself. A huge air of nervousness encapsulates the academy as the students who fail the exam get expelled. A large number of these eliminated students usually belong to powerful families. Examining the statue that Yan Di crafted in his honor, Yun Xiao appreciates his disciple's thoughtfulness. Suddenly, he hears some students talking about how the infamous loser of the Li family will be the one to get eliminated today. Seeing this, Yun Xiao's friends tell him to just ignore their words. Right then, Wang Feng announces that Yun Xiao is currently in secluded cultivation, so he will be the one to preside over their assessments this year. Soon enough, he shows his ruthless ways by disqualifying the students who aren't there yet. Wang Feng then reveals a slight change in rules. In the past, those who had unclogged their meridians to unleash their chakras or those who could throw a punch with a force of over 1,000 pounds would pass. However, as many students cheating by consuming power-increasing pills, Wang Feng requires them to do both this year to pass. Of course, all this is just an excuse to fail Yun Xiao. Much to everyone's surprise, the former 9th-tier refiner arrives at the stage confidently. "Open your eyes and watch me," declares Yun Xiao. With this, he unleashes his root chakra, followed by sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown chakras, thus opening all his 7 chakras. Da Tabayo. Demonstrating that he has unclogged all 7 of his meridians by unleashing the chakras, Yun Xiao leaves everyone in complete dismay. The previous laughingstock of the Li family continues to showcase his power, announcing that having strength isn't some great feat. Grounding his feet into the ground, Yun Xiao throws a thunderous punch at the training rock, even removing it from its chains. Everyone looks on in awe as the boy's attack leaves such a massive crack in the rock that even a martial warrior might not have been able to make. While Chu Jun and Han Bai celebrate, Princess Ru Stuwe playfully pouts, wondering how Yun Xiao managed to hide such great power so well. At the same time, Wang Feng questions how his idiotic nephew couldn't sense that his opponent had such strong energy. Now, as everyone satisfied, questions Yun Xiao. Telling the teacher that he is quite busy, the former 9th-tier refiner takes his leave. As the students gossip about Wang Feng having to eat his words at Yun Xiao's hands, he becomes infuriated, declaring that this is just the beginning between them. Despite this, the boy just laughs. Afterwards, Yun Xiao comes across Lan Suan, who introduces himself as a graduating student and a leader of the Suan gang. Seeing the martial warrior come out of seclusion, the students wonder if he has already reached the first origin realm. Meanwhile, Yun Xiao flips him off instead and remarks, "Good dogs don't block the way. Me personally, I wouldn't take this." Albeit infuriated at the disrespect, Lan Suan decides not to make a fuss over it as he is there today about Lan Fei, only to get mocked again. This time, he questions if all members of the Li family are as uncultured as Yun Xiao. Though the boy thinks that Lan Suan is the idiot here for trying to reason with him after all the years of fighting between their families and the Lan Fei incident. Having had enough of Yun Xiao's provocation, the martial warrior vows to make him regret the day that he was born. The former 9th-tier refiner applauds his honest response, questioning why a ruffian like him even bothered to pretend otherwise. Declaring that he isn't there to argue, Lan Xuan hands him a letter of challenge. Albeit admitting that his good-for-nothing brother behaved improperly deserved to be expelled, the martial warrior announces that it's his responsibility as the eldest brother to teach Yun Xiao a lesson. This just ends up confirming that Lan Fei wasn't framed and actually committed the perverted acts. Lan Xuan then gives the former 9th-tier refiner two choices. Yun Xiao can either get down on his knees and swear to never mess with the Lan family, or he can challenge the martial warrior and regret his actions after getting destroyed. As Lan Xuan advises him to choose the first option, Princess Ru Suwei and the other students come to Yun Xiao's defense, questioning if a genius graduating student like him feels no shame challenging an apprentice warrior. Right then, Yun Xiao snarks that when the younger brother is a huge creep, of course the elder brother is the same. "Since when did the Lan family have any shame?" asks the boy. "My goat really roasting the entire bloodline. W hater." Infuriated by this comment, Lan Xuan questions why the eldest grandson of Duke Jing Guo and the son of General Fei Long is hiding behind a woman like Princess Ru Suwei. Suddenly, Yun Xiao spits in the martial warrior's direction. Once again flipping Lan Xuan the bird, the reincarnated soul accepts his challenge and vows to make him lick his shoes. As Yun Xiao's friends express their concern for him, he feels surprised that this body still has a few true friends despite achieving nothing in 15 years, contrary to his past life where Gu Feiyang stood at the top of the world alone. Patting Princess Ru Suwei on the shoulder, Yun Xiao lets out a gentle smile and remarks, "Don't worry." As he begins heading out, the martial warrior announces that he won't be named Lan Xuan if he doesn't completely cripple him in their bout. Meanwhile, Yun Xiao vows to uproot the entire Lan family when the time is right. Find out when that is next time here.